I am so angry that another caustic and narcissistic relationship resulted in the murder of a young woman who appeared to be just beginning a life on her own. I had the privilege of joining Anna Garcia on True Crime News yesterday to talk about the domestic violence murder of Lauren Johansson, a 22-year-old nursing student from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. You're not going to want to miss this discussion. Well, hey everybody, welcome to Profiling Evil. In this short video on the tragic case of Lauren Johansson, I'm calling it a study in domestic violence and systematic failure. Now, I hope that you'll follow the link down below and watch the entire interview with Anna Garcia on True Crime News. And I hope that you'll take time to hit the like and the subscribe button. Make sure you're sharing Profiling Evil with all your friends. And as I'm getting started here, I want to take a moment and thank the many viewers out there who donate toward the projects that we're working on here at Profiling Evil. You know, we're rapidly approaching the 200,000 subscriber mark, something that continues to shock and humble me. Thank you so much for supporting us. Today, though, I want to call out Jenny P. And I'm protecting the last names, I don't know why, but it just seems like the right thing to do. But thanks, Jenny P., for donating that Amazon gift card. In fact, it came at a perfect time as I was flying my drone over the new Children's Justice Center that we've been donating toward. Your donation, along with a donation from viewer Jenny H., which is closely tied to Tylee Ryan and J.J. Valos family. These were the victims from the convicted murder case that Chad and Lori Daybell are now in prison for life, and Chad potentially the death penalty. But thanks to both of you. Now I'm going to put a short clip at the end of this video for any of you that would like to donate to Profiling Evil, or you can check the description area below. But let's dig into this case now. Lauren Johansson is a 22-year-old nursing student. She was allegedly assaulted on multiple occasions by her on-again, off-again boyfriend, a guy named Bryson Rivers. Now, her death has shocked and saddened the communities across Tennessee and across Mississippi, her home state, and frankly, all around the world in the true crime community. This case actually highlights the devastating consequences of domestic violence and the critical failures that are happening within the criminal justice system. Failures that allow dangerous individuals to commit such heinous acts even after they've been arrested. Now, this video is going to explore the events leading up to Lauren's tragic death. I'm going to talk a little more, though, about the systematic issues that contributed to it and the broader implications this has for domestic violence prevention and justice reform. I'm going to concentrate in the problem area. And again, I hope you'll go over to True Crime News to catch the entire podcast. And Anna, thanks so much again. Now, Laura Johansson was this wonderful soul, a dedicated nursing student who picked up this feeling of taking care of people from her father. She's from Hattiesburg, Mississippi. She was known for her compassion and her commitment to helping others. However, her life took a tragic turn when she became involved with Bryson Rivers, a now 23-year-old man from Mississippi. Now, the two dated in high school, and they had a tumultuous relationship by all public accounts, and this was a concern for her family throughout the entire time that they've known each other. It was a relationship that was marred by violence and abuse, and it culminated in a brutal attack in Nashville, Tennessee in December of 2023, just 7 months ago. Lauren shocked her parents when she announced that she was going to go on a vacation with Rivers. They'd been broken up, and it appeared that they were kind of starting to get back together, even though they thought she had been moving on with her life. Well, while the two were vacationing in Nashville, Rivers went psycho, accusing her of having an affair and all kinds of goofy things. And he assaulted Lauren in a violent incident that left her severely injured. Now, you can learn more about it again with that podcast with Anna. But he was arrested for multiple offenses, including especially aggravated kidnapping. I spoke with Anna about the case and I shared my frustration with these breakdowns that continue to happen in the criminal justice system. The failure to notify victims when a person who's harmed them is released from jail. So let's just pause for a moment and catch part of my comments on that topic as I reflect back on efforts that we began putting in place back when I worked in the county attorney's office in 1992. I mean, that's 32 plus years ago. And we're still working through the kinks in this goofy thing.
This case is outrageous and it is heartbreaking because, in my opinion, this woman's death was completely avoidable.
The whole thing incenses me. I mean, I go back to the early 90s when we were first putting together the advocacy groups. And I think, are you kidding me that we're 35 years later and we still have these kinds of things happening, that victims somehow get lost in the process and become re-victimized? And this brings me to my first point that I want to chat about. As a loved one, often our words of warning are going to go unheeded. You're going to feel frustrated. And as I point out in the next clip, you're going to feel like you're watching this slow-moving train wreck about to happen. Let's watch. What a great example of how powerless family members feel as their children start making decisions, some that you may not like, and you watch this thing like a slow-moving train. I'm sure we're going to get into all of the issues around domestic violence and the domestic violence homicide cycle, but you look at this, and all you can do as a parent is continue to love, continue to reach out, continue to open doors and say, hey, there's a way to fix this. But you're watching something where two people, fuel and fire, are coming together, and you just got this gut feeling, as I suspect the family did from the get-go, that this thing is not going to end well. But you know, there's hope in many cases. And as an outsider looking in, you can actually begin to educate yourself now about the signs of abusive relationships. This knowledge might help you communicate more effectively with your loved one. It might also give you an opportunity to suggest some things like maybe domestic violence hotlines or support groups, or even counseling services if they're willing to go that far. Just make sure that whatever you do, you remain non-judgmental with your loved one. And this is really difficult, but ensure that your loved one feels safe talking to you. So listen to them without interrupting them. Listen to them without judging them. These are the things that will help you build trust with this person and maybe give you a chance to speak to them a little bit. I mean, imagine how hard it would be for the person that you're trying to help if they kept hearing from you, I told you so. So when you're doing these, kind of use the I statements to avoid sounding accusatory. For example, things like maybe, hey, I feel worried about you when I see you so unhappy. How are you doing? Don't give people ultimatums or demand that they leave relationships, because this will actually probably push them away from you. Encourage them to engage in activities that they enjoy, and encourage them to spend time with supportive friends and supportive family members. Controlling predators in domestic violence situations will always attempt to isolate the victim and strip them of their support system. So continue to remind your loved one of their worth and their value outside of the relationship, and make sure they know you're a safe haven to talk to. If they're listening, suggest that they see a counselor or a therapist who might specialize in relationship issues, and if possible, help them develop a safety plan in case they ever feel like the situation is becoming dangerous. I mean, it might include something as simple as a code word if they call you in an emergency, or giving them a way to figure out where to go if they're having a problem, and remind them to have documents and a small amount of money tucked away if they need to get away. And here's the hardest part, in my opinion. Understand that it's going to take time for somebody that you love to recognize and leave an abusive relationship. Now, if you know that the relationship's physically dangerous, seek legal counsel, or get some contact with the local authorities. And if your loved one's open to it, talk about the possibility of getting restraining orders, especially if you suspect imminent danger. Now, this is a lot to talk about with your loved one, so make sure you're also getting some emotional support for yourself. You got to have something to help strengthen your own mental and emotional health. So supporting somebody in an abusive relationship can be emotionally draining, not only to them, but to you as well. So now let's just jump back into this case of domestic violence homicide. Charges leveled against Bryson Rivers, the boyfriend, the accused murderer of his girlfriend, Lauren Johansson. So despite the severity of the charges, Rivers is released from jail on bond in June of 2024. So from December to June, he's trying to convince the judge to reduce his bail from $250,000 to, she drops it down to $150,000, and then letting him out. And he's given that conditionally, but his release was marred by a series of critical errors. I'm going to just point out a couple of them. Number one, the bonding company responsible for Rivers failed to adhere to the conditions of the court. Number two, there were significant communication breakdowns between the court, the bonding company, and that GPS monitoring service. And these failures allowed Rivers to leave Nashville and travel to Mississippi, where Lauren lived. And that's where he continued to harass her and ultimately murder her. In fact, during that period of time between his release and when he murdered her, there's suggestion in public records that he called her more than 2,000 times. Now, when Rivers slips out of the grasp of the court, he failed to follow any of the requirements of his release, and yet the court allows him to stay. I was just blown away by this. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty clear when we look into this case that he didn't follow those instructions. Just from the very get-go of the moment he left jail, it was in violation of that court order. And then he ends up going to an ankle monitor company to get that GPS tracking device put on him. And that place happens to have closed down. Maybe why the judge initially said you can't send him out after 4 p.m. But then the probation officer or the court or somebody agrees and allows him to go to another company that doesn't have the court order. So they're relying on the suspect, the defendant in this case, to decide whether he should be staying locally, as the court order actually said, or if he can go to Mississippi, like he tells them that he has the permission of the court to do. And they apparently take his opinion and run with it. Well, when the court discovered he was on the lam, they tried unsuccessfully to notify Lauren, eventually leaving a message on Lauren's dad's phone. Now, he's a busy surgeon, and he didn't discover the message until it was too late.
Bailey calling from the district attorney's office here in Nashville. Bryson Rivers was released from custody. He was supposed to report straight to a GPS company and be put on a GPS monitor, and he was not to leave Davidson County. But as soon as he was released, he did not report to that GPS monitoring company, and he has not been heard from. So I want to make sure that Lauren is safe.
On July 3rd, 2024, 3 weeks ago, Lauren Johansson's body was found brutally beaten and wrapped in sheets, stuffed in the back seat of her car, abandoned near the Wolf River Cemetery in Harrison County, Mississippi. When police pulled up to check the vehicle after getting the OnStar location, the suspect ran from the vehicle. The discovery of her body followed a 9-hour manhunt. It involved multiple law enforcement agencies that ultimately apprehended this predator in the woods and charged him with Lauren's murders. You know, I really have a problem with this, and I try not to be too critical of law enforcement. I loved the profession. I love the court system. I love the criminal justice system. But I remember back in the early 90s when we were putting together some of the first advocacy programs in the United States. And I know what that thing has evolved to look like today. And so I'm really troubled by the fact that, number one, the victims were not, and the victim family apparently in this case, because the DA reaches out to her father, the victim or the victim's family wasn't notified immediately that, hey, we've kind of changed the rules and he's coming to Mississippi. And maybe the court could argue they didn't know that, but the bond agency that put that ankle device on did. And you think about the VINE notification system, that victim advocacy notification system that's national. Those things are set in place to let people know every step of the way if somebody is coming into an area that they would be concerned about. And it failed one time after another. And of course, I'm just looking at public documents. So the court and law enforcement and the parole and probation department might have a different attitude about what happened. But looking at these optics from the outside through public documents looks like a massive failure one time after another. So again, please catch the entire podcast as I join Anna Garcia of Crime News to discuss the case in detail. And the link is down below. But I want to warn you that if you watch the YouTube version, there are some photographs of Lauren after she was physically assaulted. That's the case in Nashville, not the murder. They're pretty darn graphic, so if you think it would be too difficult to watch, you might choose to just listen to the audio podcast version. But now, as we wrap up this discussion, I want to just chat about the implications of this thing and, frankly, some of my recommendations if I were in a position to make recommendations. You see, the tragic death of Lauren Johansson underscores the urgent need for reform in how domestic cases are handled. Some key recommendations I'd make, number one, have to do with improved communication. I guess I'd even bump one before it. Keep them in jail. But if not, improve communication and coordination. It's important that we ensure that all the parties involved in these cases are receiving updated information, especially if the predator's released and if they're being monitored out in the community. These people that are charged we have to be informed that they're out on their own, especially the victims have to be informed. Number two, stricter enforcement of these bond conditions. Don't make a condition and not do something about it. Implement more rigorous oversight of bonding companies and GPS monitoring services to prevent individuals from violating their release conditions. If their battery's out or they're out of the area they should be in, then they ought to be pulled back and put in jail. Number three, get enhanced support for victims. Get better resources, better support for victims of domestic violence, including safe housing and legal assistance to help them through the process. Number four, there has to be better public awareness and education. As we increase the public's awareness about signs of domestic violence and the importance of early intervention, we might prevent some of these things. The murder of Lauren Johansson is a heartbreaking reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the critical need for systematic reform. By addressing the failures that contributed to Lauren's death, we can work toward a justice system that better protects victims and prevents tragedies like this one from happening in the future. Man, I'd really like to know your comments on this one, and I hope that you'll put them down below. And I would ask, please share this video with anybody and everybody you know. If you'd like to learn more about the domestic violence homicide cycle, you can watch one of my earlier videos with Jane Monckton Smith on the topic. I think you'd really like that video. And for those of you who get frustrated by this, please get over it. But if you'd like to donate toward our efforts at Profiling Evil, or if you'd like to sign up for our digital newsletter, The BOLO, and that stands for Be on the Lookout, just go over to our webpage at profilingevil.com. You're going to see links for both the donation thing and to sign up for the BOLO. And make sure you're checking out our new publicly sourced missing persons and unsolved murder map. Hey everybody, it's Mike from Profiling Evil, and did you know that you could go to Amazon and send us a gift card as a donation? All you need to do when you log into your Amazon account is go up and type in Amazon gift card. When you're there, you'll notice that there's an opportunity to go down and just click on the Amazon gift card and put any amount that you'd like in here for us. And I'm going to send it to profilingevil@gmail.com. Then once you're done, all you got to do is say, hey, I like it, and hit Buy now. And it'll send off the gift card. I'll receive it. Remember that you can find Profiling Evil on YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. And again, don't forget to sign up for our audio podcasts on your favorite podcast platform. Hey everybody, please be safe. And please share these tips with your loved ones who might be in relationships that are a little bit troubling. Thanks for supporting Profiling Evil. We'll see you soon at the next crime scene.